Welcome to the Dropping Dimes podcast. And here's your host, J.I. Dimes.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Dropping Dimes podcast presented by Yo and Yes. Many thanks also to Snuggle Moments PH for sponsoring today's episode. So to start off, let us have our Around the Association for today, October 4th. So of course, let's kick it off with some news for tomorrow's game. According to Tim Reynolds, both Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic are really desperately trying to find ways on how they can come back as early as tomorrow's game. But Bam is actually closer than Goran, but both of them will still be listed as doubtful. And then in other news, Doc Rivers, of course, he has already been named as the new head coach of the Sixers. Didn't take long for Doc to get another coaching gig, as expected. And according to many executives, this is based on, this is coming from Hoops Hype. Many executives actually believe that Doc Rivers is the right guy for that job, for that Sixers gig. They believe that he'll be able to manage the personalities, he'll be able to manage the egos, and hopefully be able to solve the Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid problem that the Sixers have been trying to really solve for these past few years. So let's hope, let's hope Doc Rivers will be able to make it work. Of course, there are also rumors circulating that the Sixers might trade Ben Simmons, for that pick, for that number one pick, as they are actually interested in landing LaMelo Ball. So that's another story there. Some other news around the league. Let's see. Yeah, actually, one of the things that were brought up during the Game 2 win, a lot of people are saying, including Kendrick Perkins, that Anthony Davis is probably the best teammate that LeBron could really have. Not necessarily just best because he's arguably the most talented of them all, but because of the way they play as well. So they say that even Dwayne Wade agreed with Burke that LeBron and AD just match, or their games are just perfect for each other. Well, the way they're dominating the series right now and the whole playoffs for that matter, then it would be very hard to disagree with that. Okay, and then in other news as well, in terms of the free agency, of course, a lot of teams are also interested in Jeremy Grant, who really had a big series against the Lakers. Well, actually, not just that. He was really a big part of the Nuggets. The Nuggets gave up a first-round pick for him during the deadline, and he was really a big part of that Nuggets team. He was a guy he was kind of like the glue guy who could just defend all positions. Such an asset for the Nuggets. Okay, and then there are some rumors that the Nuggets are actually willing, to trade for Drew Holiday, who would only have 1 year left, or 1 year, yes, correct, 1 year left on his contract before he becomes a free agent. So let's see. I think they're considering trading Gary Harris or probably Will Barton and even a first round pick to get Drew Holiday. So let's see what will happen there. And then here, last there was a mention in Gordon Hayward as well, because some people are actually thinking that, of course, some fans would want him to like not pick up the option, but of course, a lot of people are also thinking that that it would not be wise to not pick up the option, especially because it's a lot of money that he will have to give up. Now, if I'm a Boston fan, I don't think it would really be fair as well. I know it wasn't really Hayward's fault in the first place when he broke his ankle during his very first game with the Celtics, and it never, his career with the Celtics never quite took off and never panned out the way we expected to. So I hope Hayward really gets another, a full healthy season wherein he can really just ball out. I think he's a big piece. He's an important piece for that Celtics team. It just so happened that he's been hit with so many injuries. Now to the main focus of the episode, which is all about the Sixers. Okay, and in his own podcast, JJ Redick, the former Sixer, this kind of trended yesterday when he said that the Sixers actually toot out when they decided not to bring him back. So, first, a lot of people agreeing with JJ because they probably, they lost their best shooter, the guy who could really space the floor consistently. So, Matt Barnes was actually with JJ Redick in that podcast. And even Matt Barnes agreed that, the Sixers probably should have really brought him back. Now, this is my opinion on it. JJ Redick, I have so much respect for the guy. I'm actually a big fan of JJ Redick even when he was in Duke. Um, I'm 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 proud of how he actually figured out a way on how to silence the doubters, by becoming a better defender and finding his niche. And of course, it also helped that the game changed, the game evolved. But shooters who who can play well in a system and can play defense as well, they really will find ways to stay in the league, and that's what JJ Redick is. I agree with Matt Barnes that JJ is not a superstar player, but he's one of those guys that you really need on your team as probably your fourth best player or fifth best player, and he would always be someone who could really contribute. But on his point, regarding his point rather about the Sixers should have brought him back. Of course, it's easy to say now because the season is over. Brett Brown has been fired because they were practically embarrassed during the first round. Ben Simmons never really found his groove in terms of taking that next step. A lot of people thought that maybe Ben Simmons this year would finally start taking outside shots. Of course, that never happened. So, and then of course he and Embiid most of the time are not on the same page. Simmons really play well when Embiid is not around, and then Embiid on the other hand plays really well when Simmons is not around. So regarding JJ's point, at that time last year during the summer when the Sixers decided, what, we have to sign Tobias Harris, we have to acquire Al Horford. It actually made sense. They lost to Toronto via that Kawhi Leonard shot that could have really changed everything during the 2019 season. I mean, just imagine if Kawhi didn't hit that. Let's say the Sixers went on a win. Even the league would have really changed. The all these narratives regarding Kawhi would have changed had he not made that shot. So the Sixers were really close. I mean, last year they were very close. They have two young superstars in Simmons and Embiid. But then I think the guy that really missed out more than JJ Redick was Jimmy Butler. They decided to give up Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler wasn't obviously happy with the way Brett Brown was running the team. So for our final thoughts regarding that, so they did miss out on JJ. They missed out on Jimmy Butler as well because they decided, we have to keep Tobias Harris. They were high on Josh Richardson, who didn't really play well, and of course they also wanted to like get Al Horford out of Boston. But then unfortunately things didn't really work out. And to JJ Redick's point, I guess they really fucked it up, man. The Sixers did. And let's hope this time that they're gambling on Doc Rivers to make it work. They let go of a guy who now has brought Miami to the finals. Well, they can't really do anything about that anymore. But when it comes to the Sixers, I wish them well, man. I mean, who would not want, or any basketball purist for that matter, would want first to see Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid to coexist. But they both have to. They also, I think, they really just have to buy into something, and let's hope. Doc Rivers, he's always been known for managing egos. Yes, we all know his history of blowing leads, or being the master of blowing 3-1 leads, etc. Or according to Phil Jackson, right? Like, he just finds ways to lose the game. And let's not dwell on that. A lot of people are saying he's overrated, but let's be honest. Doc Rivers has been really good in terms of communicating with his players, managing egos, especially big personalities. And let's just hope, for the Sixers' sake, that it would really work out.